Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome to the GameCola podcast. This is podcast number 113, Living the Dream, and I am your host and podcast commander, Joseph Martin.
I'm Anna Bryniarski. I'm the social media trash queen who hasn't done anything lately.
And I'm Jeddy, the Editor-in-Chief Jedraszczak, and I just said what I did, so...
Yeah, that is your title and your thing you do. It's pretty self-explanatory.
It's
just
also my name.
Sit around Jedditing all day. And
Yes.
yeah, you really could just say, I'm Jedditor, and then that's it. You could save even more time in the introductions.
Yes.
Alright, so, first topic on the docket today. Everyone, guess
Thomas
what? Trailer came out today.
What trailer came out today?
I said guess!
Thomas
I
the
don't
Tank
wanna-
Engine?
No, not Thomas the Tank Engine. The sequel to the ever-popular classic that I'm sure everyone in GameCola has played, Red Dead Redemption, the second one.
Wait, that didn't come out yet?
I didn't
There's
even
a
know
trailer
there was
for
a
it.
second one coming out. What?
Yeah, there's a trailer for Red Dead Redemption 2.
When was it announced?
What?
Like today.
No, when was the sequel announced?
I don't know. Part of this opening bit was going to be the fact that we don't really know what we're talking about.
We don't.
Well,
I guess I could have
congrats,
sworn.
we have no idea.
I could have sworn there already was one.
Yeah, that's. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 official trailer is an upcoming Western action adventure game set to be released in Q2 of 2018. So no, it has not come out yet.
I don't know
Shows
why.
how with the times we are, huh?
I thought it already.
I kind of did too. It's just been out for so long. It just feels like it.
I
But
had
yeah,
no
no,
idea I
there's-
was getting another one.
There's another one. So
Well,
with our very deep, I think, Red Dead Redemption experience.
Yeah.
I thought we could maybe, even though none of us have seen the trailer, I specifically abstained from watching the trailer. What do we all think is going to be in Red Dead Redemption 2?
Horses.
Objectively... Okay.
probably
horses.
alcohol.
Okay, but no. So the first game had horses. So what's Horses 2, the sequel? What is the sequel to
Wagons?
Horses? But
I'm sure
horses
there'll
and wagons,
also
I
be
think it's
guns.
cars, right?
Cars? Are cars the sequel to horses?
What?
Because carts are part of
The horse.
horse, like, dynamic.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
they
So you're
existed at the
just
same
gonna leave
time.
it at it's part of the horse.
No,
So-
part of the horse experience.
So what, is this like in like the 1920s or something now?
I guess if there's cars in it.
Wait, what?
The Wild West, there's cars. I mean, it could be an alternate universe where cars were invented earlier and it's still Wild West times.
I'm actually gonna look up the trailer.
No, don't. That's the whole bit.
Well, I'm gonna look it up for after.
Okay, that's
Because I'm
fair.
actually curious now.
Okay.
Alright, so it's there for later. Oh
okay,
no, it's playing.
so
Oh no.
I
Stop.
heard you say
Stop.
Guns too.
Guns
okay, so
and
what's the sequel
alcohol?
to Guns? What's the sequel?
More
we'll get to
guns.
alcohol. But what's like the sequel to Gun? What replaces Western guns?
Probably modern guns.
So it's basically just going to be like a modern FPS, and that it's going to have like all the different types of just like guns that
Yes.
are all technically different, but like practically
They're
speaking,
all the same.
unless you're really, really down into the game mechanics, you can't really tell them apart.
Yep.
So it'll have that.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got cars, we've got modern weaponry. What's the sequel to alcohol?
More alcohol.
What? Drugs?
Alcohol
Okay,
and
so
drugs.
Drug cartels. There's going to be drug cartels.
my
that
God.
When
we're
does
gonna
this
have to
game
deal
take
with.
place?
No, we don't
It
know
takes
anything
place
about
in an
this.
alternate
This is all
universe,
just-
Wild West. Is what I'm
Okay.
saying here.
Okay.
Because if we don't, then we're basically just making, I think, like a Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm about to actually watch the trailer.
So yeah,
so-
like, because if this isn't, yeah, it would just be GTA then, because the joke was always Red Dead Redemption is just like Grand Theft Horse.
It comes full circle.
Hold on.
We've come full circle. Okay, what else is in this sequel though? So we've got you're driving cars in the Wild West.
Oh wait, are we just making this up?
Wait, you thought this was real?
I thought...
You thought this was really what the game was?
I thought you were trying to tell us what was in the game.
No.
Wait, what's happening here?
This is not a real game, Jenny.
I legitimately thought that this was some sort of like, oh, well, Red Dead Redemption, it takes place in like the 1800s, so like the next one is in the 1920s.
That explains why you were so insistent of like, when does this take place?
I was confused.
That's why I said that I told you I hadn't watched the trailer. How would I know all this information about the game if I hadn't looked into it at all? I didn't even know that, none of us knew that this sequel wasn't already in existence. How would I have all this knowledge?
You could read.
Okay. I'm watching the actual trailer.
No. You'll ruin it for all of
I'm
us.
watching the actual... I'm kind of confused.
How many cars are there?
There are, at the moment, 0 cars.
How many horses?
I saw at least 1 cart. I also found telephone poles, which is very confusing, because I think this is still 1800s, but I'm not sure.
I think you could have a telephone pole. Well, oh, it's a telegraph pole, perhaps.
They look like telephone poles, though, with
Telegraph,
wires
you know, beep, beep, beep,
stuff.
beep, 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 beep.
I thought those were telegrams.
Telegram, I thought
Oh,
was...
telegram. Telegram is when you send a telegram, like
Yeah, the guy comes and reads you the something stop.
I mean, maybe it is. I could... Oh, you know what? It is. It is. Alright. I was just very confused, because I'm like, huh. Doesn't look like it fits, but
Anna,
there is at least
you can't watch the trailer anymore. You need to stop.
I watched the whole thing. Can't stop me now.
We can stop you if I want to. Stop. Just the whole podcast. We're gonna end every sentence with stop. Stop. That won't get obnoxious at all. Stop.
No, stop.
Stop. Stop. Stop.
Alright, time to play more Thomas the Tank Engine.
Man, playing red light, green light over Telegram must have been very difficult.
I hope people actually did that.
Go, stop. Stop,
Go,
stop.
Stop, go, stop. It's like, what do you want from me?
Okay, so that's enough. That's enough talking about things we don't know about. Jeddy, you went to a thing recently. I believe that is what you wanted to talk about today.
Yes, I did.
You went to Boston.
So yes, I wrote a GameCola article about this, but I went to the Boston Festival of Indie Games. Stop.
And what is that?
I don't know if I'd quite call it a convention, but it is basically a convention for indie developers. It takes place at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in their athletics building, which is a curious choice for it. But
athletics buildings are usually pretty big, though.
It was pretty big, and it took up both floors because the first floor was for tabletop games, which was cool, and then you go upstairs to the video type games.
What was there like a middle floor where they played like mixtures of tabletop and video games, like Scene It? Was anyone playing Scene It on the 1.5 floor? Indie Scene It.
Yes, I'm sure.
No, Indie Scene It. Tagline: no one has.
Oh no, I don't know why, but I was thinking of Atmosphere, you know, classic VHS video board game, which I believe Paul would definitely be a person who's interested in making some such similar thing.
I believe the market for that might be particularly reduced because then it's not just like a taste niche, it's a technology niche.
Yeah, but no, I had a good time at the Boston Fig, as they call it. Saw a lot of indie games. I really enjoyed the variety actually of indie games because I guess according to the pamphlet that came with my attendance, they say that it's a curated event. So it's not just like anybody who wants can come and like show off their game. They try to pick like stuff that isn't already being shown. So you did end up with quite a variety of like the style of game and the like level of team. There wasn't like only people who are like one guy in like his, basement making this game by himself, or only like big teams with like 20 people who have a budget. You got like a really good variety of who you got to see. So there was, some like really professional looking games, some stuff that's like, oh, there's a lot of, heart and soul put in by this like one single person who's sitting behind me in this booth. But you also got a lot of like, there was a game, it was like an iPhone game that requires headphones, and it's called Blind Drive. You're supposed to like steer your car without being able to see, and you're supposed to like dodge traffic and stuff. There was another game, Static Ops, that was kind of like keep talking and nobody explodes, where it's like there's two people. There's one person with the mouse and like headphones who's like listening to the radio for like secret codes and stuff, while the other person plays with the keyboard and gets to look at the screen and like guide the character around the base. I don't know. There was some interesting games.
And so, like, the idea is that, like, one person is, like, getting the codes and has to relay that information to the person with the screen.
Yeah.
Those are
so like
anxiety-inducing.
Those are the kinds of, like, asynchronous, really I think is the term.
Yeah.
Gameplay where, like, the different people have, like, different things available to them.
Yeah, asymmetrical.
Those are some of my favorite. Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be, like those two particular examples are like the kind of high stress. You're on a timer. You're gonna die if you don't figure this out. Sort of. Yeah, you can do asynchronous gameplay in a less stressful environment. Like you could do it. Like Mario Galaxy. Maybe not the best example, but in terms of what's the most fun for both people. But it technically has a sort of asynchronous gameplay in that like you've got one person controlling Mario and you've got another person that like controls the star pointer and collect. I mean, you both can collect star bits, but like the person can like hold enemies still, and is less. Since they're not controlling Mario, they're less distracted and can do some of the stuff with the Wiimote that player one can do, but might not necessarily because they're focused on playing the game normal. And that I would imagine would give you less anxiety than, oh no, if I don't figure this out, someone's gonna die. So, okay, so was it just like a showcase, or were there like panels too?
No, and I guess that's part of what keeps me from calling it like a convention, is there weren't really panels, it was just like, here's booths for like all these dozens of indie games. There was like an artist's alley and like a little shopping area, I guess. But other than that, it was primarily just a showcase.
And then the tabletop games downstairs, was that a showcase, or was that just like, hey, let's all play tabletop games also?
No, it was like independently created tabletop games that like you could come down and you could play their game at their booth. There were some cool ones. I liked them.
But I imagine those probably had a larger like time sink to actually like try out.
Yeah, like there was one I was listening to, it was like I'm getting hungry, I'm ready to go, and he starts telling me about this cool like exploration space game, and he's like, well, normally this would be like a 3 or 4 hour game, but we've boiled it down to half an hour for the sake of this display. And I'm like, well, I'm interested, but I don't know about half an hour right now.
Right.
And then like waiting for the other one that's currently going to wrap up.
How long would you expect a board game playing session to go? Or like a tabletop game, I guess. Like 3 to 4 hours like sounds really long, but I don't know. Like I've definitely played video games for 3 to 4 hours before.
It's true. And like if you think of like a D&D campaign or something, that can definitely go. And that's what they were kind of saying, is like it's something that you take a Saturday and you like make an evening out of it. You like invite everybody over and you all sit down and you play this game for an evening. It's no sorry. But
sorry, it's not sorry.
yes,
I can't believe it's not sorry.
it's not the game of
I'm
life.
sure there are plenty of games like that where it's like it's not sorry with like an asterisk by that's like it's mostly sorry.
Off topic question. Has anyone ever seen the commercials for Sorry where there was this kid who was just like, sorry, and then like knocked someone else's piece away?
Is it this?
Like a jerk.
I've definitely done the like drawing the card but like not showing anyone and then going and like figuring out who you're gonna take and then like, excuse me, friend, I'm terribly sorry, and then taking their piece.
It's even worse.
I guess the sorry commercials that I remember are the ones with the disgusting, weird, like, guys dressed as the pieces running around on the board.
I don't think
That
I ever
sounds
saw
amazing and also
many
awful.
commercials for sorry.
Yeah, I didn't see too many, but that's one that I remember seeing. I don't remember where I saw it or when.
Also, sorry is like just I feel like to a certain extent it's one of the most basic of like games of like you get a card, it has a number on it, you move that many spaces, that's the game.
Yeah.
That's fun. Candyland.
Candyland is like what I just said but more.
It is.
The only game that is like the game that is most what I said, I forget what it's called, but I think it's called like Uncle Wiggly or something.
What?
Yes! Oh my god, we have that. My sister used to love that
Is
game.
everyone here familiar with Uncle Wiggly?
No.
I am.
I think that's what it's
like
called.
a counting game.
Is it called Uncle Wiggly?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay. Yeah, it's literally, I don't remember if you have cards or dice, but it's literally
It's cards.
yeah, it's literally you draw a card, you go that number of spaces, whoever gets to the end wins, and there's no like twist on that. It's just like that's the
Yeah.
game. You just draw cards until somebody wins. Like it's not even
It
like
is
shoots
the
and ladders where you
most
could go
basic
backwards.
Games. My sister and one of my grandmas, they would play that all the time. It's sitting out. My mom's been cleaning upstairs, and she found it, and now it is on the floor somewhere.
It's not good because it's also like you have to move 100 spaces, and I don't think the cards go very high. So like, it takes at
definitely a little
least
kid's
10
game.
turns to like get to the end, and then multiply that by however many players you have, and it just goes on forever.
Yeah, I think you can only have 4 players.
Jetty, what's the
But
most
yeah, it's
what's the
definitely
most
for children.
simplistic board game you've ever played?
The most simplistic board game? I mean, does it count if it doesn't have a board?
I mean, like not like a card game.
I guess, I don't know, I guess, how complex would you call Yahtzee? Because I guess in some ways, like, all it is literally you count up the dice and stuff. But I guess there is, like, strategy. You can choose where to put what.
Yeah. Yeah, there's at least, like, you have some agency.
Yeah.
Like, because in Uncle Wiggly, like, you can't even play bad on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
You know
It's
what
just
I mean?
whatever
Like,
you get.
yeah, whatever you get is whatever you get. And it's kind of similar, like, Sorry has some choice, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of situations where it's like, you move your piece, and that's what you do this turn. I mean, with card games, like, the obvious winner is War.
Yeah.
The worst card game.
Are you serious? I love War.
War is, you literally just draw cards until someone wins.
Were we?
It's great for somebody who has, like, really bad attention and needs something to move fast.
Were we talking
That's
about
fine.
this?
It's a
Did we talk about this recently?
I'm sure I've mentioned it, my detest for War on the podcast before. Not to get too political, ha ha ha, get it, because it's like the actual war.
Yeah,
Ba-dum.
I got it.
But no, like, I don't like it. I don't like it. Because there's no strategy. It's a fine pastime if you like, your goal is to just kill, like, I need it to be, 15 to 30 minutes later. So
Exactly.
we'll just throw this deck of cards at each other until one of us has more.
Yep.
but as a game, it's awful and bad.
I mean, that's why I play card games, just to pass time. So, it doesn't need to be anything complex for me.
I'm just saying that, like, you have, like, again, like, if a game is so straightforward that you playing it the best you can and the worst you can is not different at all, then I feel like there's a problem there. Like, you can play Go Fish poorly. You can ask for the wrong thing intentionally and ignore information that you get based on what other people ask for and just blindly guess, and that's very different than, like, paying a lot of attention to what people are asking for and then making your asks based on that. So even though Go Fish is very simplistic, like, you still have, there's a difference between, like, no strategy and some strategy.
That is a good point. Stop.
You know what's a fun board game to try to cheat at?
What is it?
What?
I don't know if it would exactly be cheating, but Clue.
Alright.
When other people show other people their cards, and you kind of just have to watch and see where they're crossing out on their sheet. Like, if it's the character, the weapon, or the room.
Isn't
like
so
doing
you're just looking at what everybody else has crossed out on their thing?
You kind of have to watch and see which, like, where they're crossing out. Because then you also
yeah. You know.
Cross out that part.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'd exactly be cheating or just using your observation skills to your advantage.
Roll a perception check.
I feel like you're not. I feel like the point is to not know what everybody else knows. Like, that's the whole point of the game is that everyone has different information at all times, and if everyone was just looking at what everyone was doing, then it's not really. There's no inequivalence of information then.
It's fun cheating at that game.
So, I think the coolest game that I saw down in the tabletop section was one called Go-Go Gattai. And it was like the Yakuza has robots, and they are trying to extort money from food trucks, who also, the food trucks themselves, combine into a robot. And the two teams...
I'm on board.
The two teams are trying to make it through the city, and, like, they're battling each other individually, but if they can all get together, like, you know, into adjacent spaces, then they can combine. So it's like trying to keep the other team from getting together while you're trying to get together, and then you transform into a giant robot and then beat them.
So do you just win when you transform into a giant robot?
I did not sit... I mean, you don't. I can tell you that much. I did not sit and, like, watch the full round of play, but apparently when you turn into a robot, you can also, like, take out buildings and stuff, which are, like... You know, you can't just, like, run in a straight line, because you're gonna, like, run into buildings and stuff. But you could if you turned into a giant robot and destroyed the buildings.
That's the thing. Like, most games, I feel like tabletop games, where there's, like, multiple stages...
Yeah.
That inevitably one stage is going to be better than the others.
Yeah.
Like, House on a Hill or something like that. Haunted Terror at House on a Hill, something like that.
Betrayal
at House on a Hill.
Betrayal at House on the Hill.
So, like, the first stage of the game is you're like, explore the house and you get, like, items and power-ups and you, like, build the house that's, like, randomly generated because you, like, pull out tile sets as you explore the house. But then as soon as, like, someone, like, quote unquote dies, like, they lose enough not being afraid points or whatever, then it moves into the second phase where that person is the antagonist and the rest of the people are trying to escape the house alive or something like that. But there has been very rarely been a time where I haven't enjoyed just the exploring of the house a lot more than the second phase, where, like, someone is evil, because it's usually, at least in that game, it's usually very much either, you have to keep everybody from getting out of the house before you get to the front door, but then also everyone just happens to be at the front door at that time while you're in the basement. So it's like, well, I'm not even going to have a chance to interact with anyone because they're all further away than me. So, because, like, we've actually, like, we've stopped playing in the middle of the second phase just because we didn't enjoy it. that part.
Yep.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Boston, Jeddy?
It was fun. I saw a bunch of games.
That's good.
You can read my article about it. I wrote all about the games that I like.
Yeah, you should read the article on GameCola.net.
Yes.
Gaming.
Video games.
GameCola.net. Video games.
Yes,
Video games.
I'm trying to think if I actually changed it to that or if it still says we talk about video games sometimes.
I really do like from a branding standpoint, probably terrible. But I like the idea that our slogan is just video games with a period. Like the period is the important part of that.
Yes, I like that was Nathaniel's suggestion, that explicitly with the period.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's lots of shows with punctuation in them.
Yes.
Though sometimes it's like there's plenty of shows where like the exclamation. I mean, Nathaniel's Joe's.
I was thinking
which
about.
He always says like that. Has an exclamation mark in the title.
There's. I was gonna say both Eek the cat and Real Monsters.
Oh yeah.
Oh, a rock.
Yes.
That has a comma in it.
That's true.
Continue?
Continue,
that one's always weird to read about because it will completely change the tone of the sentence.
Continue? Yeah.
It's like, I really love watching Continue. Sort of speaking about tabletop games a little bit, I think the fans and listeners of the podcast, the Game Colons, as we have been instructed not to call them,
yes.
Would be interested to know that we've sort of been doing like Dungeons and Dragons stuff, fun stuff behind the scenes with our good and friendly DM Anna.
It's a shit show.
It's been fun. Anna constantly undersells herself.
Yes.
Even though everyone's having a great time.
Yes. We wouldn't be coming back.
Good. I'm glad.
If we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm also gonna do one because we had too many people interested, so we split the party in two. This week ended up being too busy because we were originally gonna try yesterday. But I'm excited to send you through my introduction that I've repeatedly said you're either gonna love or hate.
I get to play my thiefy girl. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, you've had that. That's a character that you've had from several different campaigns, right?
Yeah, for one that I'm doing with people from a fan group, for a D&D show called Dice Camera Action, who I don't get to use as often because we don't meet, like, ever. But I really want to use her, because she's my favorite.
I mean, James is using a character that he's had for, like, several years.
Yeah.
Jeddy, you made up your own character. This character that you've done, the monk, who punches ghosts, and brooms and doors and everything.
Yes.
My favorite.
That's your own original character. Do not steal, right?
Yes. I made it up just for this whole thing. Like, it's not a pre-existing character that I'd used previously. I made it up for the express purpose of dungeoning and dragoning with you guys.
The adventure that I've been sending most everyone on the Discord server through is called Death House, which is an optional side quest in the campaign Curse of Strahd. And I thought we were going to be done last time, but I'm dumb and forgot there's a whole nother level of the dungeon.
Yeah, we've been basically going a floor a session, and we're on like session. We just finished session 3.
Yeah. So well, tomorrow.
If we had metagamed, we probably could have gotten through that quickly, but like we didn't.
Excited that you didn't.
Yeah, we basically like we could have just like made a beeline for a staircase.
Yeah.
And moved down to the next floor, but I think we ended up exploring like the entire map. And that was like wasn't like intentional. It was just in character. We were like, well, I guess we'll go this way. And we basically went the entire map and explored everything.
Yep.
And we got a bunch of loot that won't matter.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to keep it.
For freaking well that had nothing in it.
Yep.
That GameCola staff writer James Pelster decided to jump in and explore the 30-foot deep well that had nothing in it while Diana just continually hit him on top of the head with a bucket.
True story.
The one part of the campaign where my character was not the most hated. That's another thing, is that everyone does not like my character. Everyone's character, I should say, does not like my character at all. Which makes sense in a sense because he has very low charisma. But it basically means that everyone gets upset whenever I do anything.
Yeah, it's also really funny because you guys are either really charismatic or just not charismatic at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny. There's no in between.
I did like the part where we were all trying to break into that box, and then after we gave up and left the room, you stayed back and cast Firebolt, but then Coley came running back into the room just to grab the treasure.
Yeah, and I tried to grab the treasure, and then Anna was like, well, I mean, it'll burn you, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was still on fire.
I didn't realize everything was still on fire.
You know, after you set it on fire.
Well, I mean, I didn't know it was all flammable.
Yeah, they're the things in the interior.
Yeah, it's wood and,
I mean,
human leather
Snur
pouch.
would have known that it was still on fire. I just didn't know how much time had passed in this interaction.
Half a second.
Well, I didn't know that.
I'm
There was
actually
also
really
the time
excited.
where you punished me for engaging with the ghosts and being the only one to actually talk to them.
I don't remember this. What happened? When was this? Was this when you made them cry?
This is when we met the ghost children, and I tried to engage them in conversation, and you made them start crying.
It's because you were I don't think I punished you, did I?
I mean, you made me feel bad by making children cry.
You made them cry!
They were
Because you
ghosts.
kept telling... you kept reminding them that they're dead.
I told them
that they
once.
can't leave the house.
No, I just said that they were dead, and I thought they already knew that.
They did know that they were dead, but you don't need to remind them.
Well, it was important to the context of the conversation of figuring out what was going on.
You still made them cry.
Yeah, they just cried. And then everyone got mad at me again.
Those poor ghost children, what did they ever do to you? Before trying to possess you.
Yeah, so, I mean, to a certain extent, I'm a little happy that we're splitting up a little bit, because that means that it reduces the amount of crap I get from people by half. So it might increase depending on how much you hate my DMing.
True.
Coley is probably one of the biggest ones of...
She loves it, and so do I, so that's the only reason you two are together, because it's just so much fun. Just, like, listening to her give you shit. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's definitely what we've been doing in our spare time. Here.
Yay. Another thing that's been happening in my spare time is Thomas the Tank
Mm-hmm.
Engine.
Good old Thomas.
Segue.
He's a really useful engine, you know.
I downloaded 6 different Thomas the Tank Engine apps onto my phone. And one of them is, I think, a Talk to Thomas.
How many of them have you used?
I've used 2 so far.
Mm-hmm. Were they all free?
Yes.
Okay.
Thomas and Friends Talk to You. I'll save that one for a little later. But, I've played the Magic Tracks one, which is, I think, really just a playset. But but it also has, in-app purchases that I will not be purchasing. I also played the racing one, which is really just, you press a bunch of buttons. Not even buttons. It gives you prompts on screen, and then you do whatever the prompts want you to do, which might be pressing a button or dragging something to something else. And it's really simplistic, and it's great.
It is a Thomas the Tank Engine video game.
These are not meant for someone in their 20s.
Which one's your favorite?
So far, definitely the racing one, because the Magic Tracks one wanted me to buy things, and I didn't want to do that. I really hope that the Thomas and Friends Talk to You will become my new favorite because I want to talk to some trains. Because that's, my dream come true.
Wait. Are we going to have a new tank engine dating sim? Is this the next Hatterful
Yeah.
boyfriend?
Yeah. Once I finish writing that potato dating sim that I keep saying that I'm gonna write, that's the next one. Yeah, this is definitely looking like just another one of those things. Anyway, Tom's the Tank Engine. They're all very bitter and very angry all of the time.
Yeah, they're just... that's the most of the conflict is just... I don't think you can do the thing. I'll show you. I'll do the thing. Oh no, I shouldn't have done the thing.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I love it. It's wonderful.
And then you just cause confusion and delay.
Yep. The whole entire show is counterproductive, and it's fine.
I remember that I played Thomas the Tank Engine video games when I was younger, but I don't remember, what they were. They were computer. I know they were, computer, sort of, point and click, probably. I think it was just, one of those things where, you just... there was, a game, but it was just, moved you from minigame to minigame.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was in classrooms at school, but, you never really got to play them because it was kind of yeah, these are educational, but they're still just video games, so you don't really get to do that ever.
I never played any video games of Thomas the Tank Engine when I was a kid. I did play with actual Thomas the Tank Engine toys at Barnes & Noble. That's about as close as it got. And also, whenever I babysat, if they had Thomas the Tank Engine toys, I would play with those with the kid.
You babysat Thomas the Tank Engine toys?
No. Yes, that is exactly what happened. Alright, time to move on to another app. This looks significantly more cartoony.
Yeah, because Thomas, recently moved from, stop motion model, or, models to, full-on CGI.
Oh, yeah.
With, actual lip syncing, and it's
Oh, God.
an abomination, and I will not stand for it.
Is it,
This is some crap.
is it worse than JJ the Jet Plane?
No, okay, JJ the Jet Plane is, a whole caliber of, discomfort. If you can't just, you can't, of course anything compared to JJ the Jet Plane is gonna look good. They still don't have, human faces stretched over an airplane model.
Well, okay, but I guess the thing is that, and I didn't realize it until, recently, that JJ the Jet Plane is just a knockoff of Thomas the Tank Engine.
I guess it was, it was so bad that I never realized,
Yeah.
It wasn't that I didn't know
You were so
much as
horrified.
I didn't care because it was more important that it was just bad.
Yeah, you were just so
Then...
mortified by the graphics that you couldn't see through the facade.
Yeah. If I had tried to enjoy it for what it was, I would have been this is basically Thomas the Tank Engine. But instead, it's just ah!
Yeah.
What is happening?
Faces on airplanes.
What is this? Why is the face stretched across the airplane?
Yeah,
it's not just flat on there. It's stretched around. And I'm pretty sure they tried to use some weird motion capture on the faces because they're just twitch around constantly. And it's why? It is the most uncanny valley stuff that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
And it's awful. It's so bad.
I'm vaguely reminded of Seaman, I believe it was a Dreamcast game. We have a GameCola article about it.
Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar. But yeah, a lot like that, honestly, in terms of character design.
As it should be.
Is this another racing game? Alright, let's go.
Speaking of a bunch of small portable video games, Jeddy, you got out right before the podcast. You got out a collection of of little things that you picked up recently. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that while Anna races some
I did,
Steam
in
engines?
fact, get a bunch of small things. So, being that GameCola headquarters has recently moved from disgusting, humid, and sweaty Orlando, Florida, to Boston, Massachusetts, we have had to refurnish the headquarters with reasonably priced used furniture, and
So instead you bought video games.
well, first I bought the Hannah Montana digital photo cube for $3, which
Thank God.
was a steal.
Mhm. I'm getting a very strong, like, what is it? Jack and the Beanstalk vibes here.
I took the cow to town to sell it.
Jeddy, go sell the cow and buy us some furniture. He comes back with Hannah Montana video game.
Yes, so
It's worth $3. It's like that cow was worth like at least $100.
so
You see, this will jumpstart my career as a pop star producer. I'll become a media giant.
there is a whole tale
I brought it around.
that goes behind the purchase, and then, how would I phrase that? The activation thereof of the product, so to speak, which you'll have to read on Paul Franzen's new website, Yard Sailing to Adventure. That's yardsailingtoadventure.wordpress.com. Also, make sure if you're shopping on Amazon to use his affiliate link for products that you're interested on buying. Then I proceeded to go to multiple yard sales, at which I came across a bag full of Game Boy games and a Game Boy, which I bought for only $10 American.
Wow.
Nice.
I feel like even just a Game Boy Color itself is worth at least $20 American.
Yeah. No, I was stoked. And I bought that right up as soon as I saw it. And I ended up with quite the collection, I must say. I have
Yeah, what's your haul? I'm curious.
Pac-Man,
Okay.
Jeopardy.
That could be a lot of things, but go.
Jeopardy.
Yep, we heard a little sample of that earlier.
I might play it for the podcast, so everyone can enjoy. Game & Watch Gallery 3.
Ooh, historical.
Yeah. Speaking of historical, there is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe.
Oh, so like the first...
Yeah.
Well, wait.
But
For the Game Boy Color.
yeah. With apparently
So
like
that's not...
high score leaderboard and some other stuff. It looks like it has some custom levels and stuff as well.
Oh, okay. Because it's not the Super Mario All-Stars one.
No.
Because those came out on Game Boy Advance.
Then there is actually, maybe I should save this one for last. There's 3, oh no, I guess there's 4 licensed games. Half of these games were licensed games. I already mentioned Jeopardy. Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Saves the Day. Sesame Street Sports, quite possibly the most pointless game I have ever played. Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. I'm actually quite curious to play that one.
Yeah.
And then a game. Now, see, I don't know much about this franchise, let's say, so I'm not sure if this one is worth the $10 all on its own, or if perhaps nobody cares about this one. The Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Ages.
No, I mean I don't know if it's like rare or anything, but I mean that's a good one.
Yeah, is it?
It's supposed to be
Is
good.
it one that,
Actually, considering that like there's so few, like so little coverage of it, I would think that might actually be like worth $10 all on its own. It might now if it's been released on like eShop stuff now, which I think it might have been. What'd be really cool is you got both of them because you can like they talk to each other and like if you can play through one and then you play through the other and you get like a bonus ending or something.
See, so one thing that I'm like excited about, or actually in some ways I guess I'm slightly disappointed about, is I have a working Game Boy Color, but I left it in Orlando, Florida. It is still in my ownership technically, but it's not in my current possession. It is not here at the office where I currently am located recording this podcast. But I have another Game Boy Color, and I could use the stupid infrared port to communicate, which I have literally never done before because I've never had a friend stop. I have never had a friend who had a Game Boy Color while I currently had my Game Boy Color in my possession, and which we both owned games which operated on the Game Boy Color with two-player mode or whatever.
Yeah, wait, so I didn't know that the Game Boy Color had an infrared, wireless thing.
Yeah, there's a little, black spot on the top. There's, a little black window thing. Now, my problem with this is, do we actually have to physically keep these things pointed at each other? I guess that works while you're doing, a Pokemon trade, but it wouldn't work while doing a Pokemon battle where you're both whoops. I dropped it just doing that.
Jeddy, I think you might be playing Pokemon incorrectly. But I mean, I had the Game Boy Advance SP, and you had to get you had to get the quote unquote wireless adapter, to do anything that wasn't the cable with that.
Yeah. I mean, I do.
And then the DS had infrared and wireless, which felt redundant.
Yeah.
But I guess if there was something that was interfering with the wireless communications, you could still do infrared. I don't think anyone ever did. That was another weird thing where because it felt, I don't know, it just always felt like the whole, part of the original DS's whole gimmick was this wireless connectivity as a baseline. Because it had PictoChat, where you just connected to other DS's and then you just drew stuff to each other. And that was just a thing in PictoChat.
Man, I missed out. I'm just thinking about, I remember MSN Messenger at one point, included this, whiteboard feature where you could, draw to each other, and I just remember drawing things to people. I missed out not having...
That is what you would have to use it for.
I missed out on not having PictoChat on Nintendo DS.
Well, you could always just jump on board, just jump straight from Game Boy Advance to new 3DS XL to Wii 2.
Do you mean... Oh, here I thought you might mean the Game Boy Color.
No, Game Boy Color is the opposite direction, Jeddy. I'm pretty sure the only intermediate between what you have played up to and the DS is the Game Boy Micro.
I guess, okay, here's the thing. I guess I'm surprised by all of these Game Boy Color games because apparently I've never actually seen a real Game Boy Color only game because they come in this weirdly shaped cartridge.
Yeah, because they gotta fit all those extra colors in.
Yeah, well, every single one that's explicitly a Game Boy Color game, and I had read about this, is that number one, for some reason they have clear cases. Remember Atomic Purple where it was clear and you could see into it, but these are gray and you can see through them, and they have a little bulge, and they don't have... Actually, how do you turn them on? Oh, right, because it doesn't do that. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if you children would remember that in the original Game Boy, there's a little notch. There's a notch in the cartridge, which, when you turn on the Game Boy, it would slide like a little peg into the notch so that you couldn't pull the Game Boy cartridge out while you were playing.
I think mine is this the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color?
This is the Game Boy, the original one.
See, I don't know if mine is I got from someone else. I do have an original Game Boy, but I think that switch might be broken because I don't think that's the case on mine.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a little purple peg with a little purple flippy switch that it would pop out and go in there, so that you couldn't play.
I'm almost 100% sure that is broken on mine.
They had to tear the game out. It was important. But yeah, I never noticed that it's not there because the button is on the side in the Game Boy Color, but it also is missing the notch so that you can't put a Game Boy Color game and play it on a Game Boy. Or maybe that's what they were trying to do. Maybe that's why you're missing yours.
Maybe.
They had...
Maybe they opened up a portal to the darkest dimension.
Yeah.
And...
Which is why Nintendo
never
didn't
heard
want
from
you
again.
putting a Nintendo, Game Boy Color cartridge in, obviously.
Now, I think now it works opposite. Now the 3DS games have an extra notch on them so that you can't put them in a DS, in a regular DS.
So, one other thing I would like to note is that, I don't know if you recall, but I went to Japan, and I bought a number of...
What? Wait, you went where? Where did you go, Jeddy?
I went...
When'd you go to Japan? When did this happen?
Jeddy, did you perchance visit the land of the rising sun?
Yeah, that place. So...
I feel like I would have noticed that.
Yeah.
Because I would have had to, help Diana run the site for, several months.
Yeah. If I just disappeared for 3 months, you'd think you would have noticed. But,
yeah, go ahead.
So while I was there, I bought a number of games. And I had actually bought a number of Game Boy games that were in Japanese. Now, I had actually, before I went to Japan, I had already packed up my Game Boy Color, so I never had the opportunity to try it. But here I am in beautiful Boston, Massachusetts, sitting in our new headquarters, our new flagship office. I had this new Game Boy Color that I had bought at a yard sale for $10 with a bunch of games in it. And I also had all of my Japanese cartridges. And I decided to try the Japanese cartridge in the American Game Boy Color. And it worked. So, I can just play all these Japanese games, the, 4 that I bought on the Game Boy.
So it's not region locked?
No, it's not. Which, now...
Had region locking even been invented?
And that's, I think, the thing is that, the Famicom will not play in the Nintendo Entertainment System because the chips are actually different. They, added pegs to one that aren't in the other. So, you physically cannot fit them in the machine. Weirdly. I've heard stories that you can, cut them out, just take, wire cutters and just snip them out and cram them in there. There's also, a converter that you can buy. And I think that the games just work. The other thing that I know is that the Super Famicom games, they're, fatter. They have, a round front, whereas the Super Nintendo is, flat on the front. So, they won't physically fit in the machine, but you can plug them in, and that they would play... If I remember correctly, they would play in the Super Nintendo. But yeah, the Game Boy games are just shaped the same. There's no difference, and they play just fine.
I looked up the Atomic Purple Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that I had.
Yeah.
When I was really little.
Yep.
I got it when I was 5, and I had one game for it for the longest time.
What was the game?
It was Little Mermaid 2 Pinball.
Yes. Nice.
And it had, I think the cartridge had a battery in it. Because it was really big, and I'm about to look it up.
Okay.
Mermaid 2 Pinball.
I had on the Game Boy, Tetris, and this basketball game that was just terrible. It was very bad. Very, very bad. It was just press B to shoot, and sometimes basket happens.
I also had Woody Woodpecker Racing. Don't remember where that came from, though. If I got it for, a birthday or something, but... I also had Arthur. That was the best game that I had at that time in my life. Tetris from my uncle's Game Boy. I had that.
Why does it have a battery in it?
It might not be a battery, but it was compatible, I think, with the printer.
Because, no, I'm looking at
printer, but
Pokemon Pinball.
Why.
No, sorry, I'm seeing pictures of, people who have it, and they're, they do put a battery in it.
Okay, good, because I have no idea why. It's so weird. I also had the, 2 of the Powerpuff Girl games. And it was for, oh my gosh. It was, the Bubbles and Blossom ones. And then I also had a Barbie game, Magic Genie Adventure.
As opposed to just a regular genie.
Magic Genie Adventure.
Magic Genie.
I'm looking there, the Learning Company games. I didn't know that was a Learning Company game. Apparently. But, hey look, the American Girls Premiere, that was a fun game. I did not have that, my grandma did, but anyway. Game Boy games.
The game has a rumble feature which vibrates the Game Boy Color when turned on with an extra battery.
Is that how that works?
Wow.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Because it's pinball.
Gotta have that tactile
Think
feedback.
What other games I had? I didn't have any Pokemon games, which was sad.
Well, maybe instead of games that we've had, maybe we could talk about games that we've been playing in recent times.
I'm already looking up every Game Boy game ever, according to Wikipedia.
Jeddy, what video games have you been playing in recent times?
I have been playing, I believe it was GameCola's best game of 10 years ago, 2016, Mother 3.
Oh, how is it?
I'm on the fence. I'm still playing the game. The mechanics are good. I like it. But the story isn't quite there for me. Like, I've only finally just gotten to the part where you actually meet, like, the supposed main character. Or where, like, you actually begin playing as him. Because, like, the first part of the game, you play as the cowboy dad, the thief guy, and a monkey. And, like, I mean, I get, like, okay, it's, like, wacky characters, that's nothing really new. But I guess, like, the whole thing about, you know, the original Earthbound is that it's, like, relatable. You know, you're playing, like, an average kid in an average town in, like, a modern fantasy setting.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now you're, like, two middle-aged guys and a monkey in, like, not really a modern fantasy setting. It's just kind of like, oh, this wacky weird town, so weird. Now that I've gotten to the main character, they've also, like, updated it to be a more, like, normal, like, more like Earthbound. And, like, I hate to say, like, well, I don't like it because it wasn't exactly like the original game. But, you know, there's certain expectations. And so, like, I'm gonna see, now that I'm, like, there, this is the, like, main character that I've known from, you know, nobody talks about the dad. I hadn't heard about the dad until I, like, started playing the game. Or this other guy. Whoever he is. Yeah. Does he come back? I don't know. But, yeah, we'll see if I care about it a bit more. I mean, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. It's playable, you know?
Kind of reeling back in there, Jeddy. You know, it's fun. Enjoyable. I'm still playing it. It's a video game that you can play.
Yeah.
It exists. It's there.
It does, in fact, exist.
It's still installed on my computer.
Yeah. Well, no, I've been playing, it is installed on my Retro Freak.
Oh, right, because you can...
Yeah,
you can
I'm
Japanese.
not one of you plebeians playing on your computer.
Okay, you're still playing it on, like, this weird, like, Frankensteinian, like, console Cronenberg.
Yeah.
So don't you go all purist on me.
Yeah,
Alex
okay,
Jedman.
and... Yes, and the thing is that, like, it's not even like I'm playing the cartridge in the machine. I'm playing the ROM that I downloaded in the machine.
Is it the Japanese one?
No, I have the translation.
And here you were.
Yep.
Making fun of us. How could you do this to me, Jeddy?
I know.
How could you?
Yes.
Come on.
It did have a very convenient patching feature where it'll do the patching for you. Just like every modern emulator.
Hey, Anna.
Hey.
What video games have you been playing in recent times?
Okay, I have been playing Valhalla still.
Oh.
With James for the YouTube channel. I restarted Earthbound because I started watching Diana's videos. And,
You can watch both of those series on the GameCola YouTube channel, GCDotNet, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, the word net.
Hey. So what happened is that I played on my 3DS. I was gonna make a save point because the game crashed on me and I had to restart a small section of the game and I didn't want to do it again. But instead of making a save point, I accidentally clicked on the save point that was already made by somebody in July. I don't remember who made it. It might have been Cam. Effectively deleting all of my work to that point in Fourside, where I was almost done in Fourside.
Wow. Yeah, you weren't even, like, near the beginning of the game or something. Is like, yeah.
Yeah. That happened. So I have to restart, and I don't know when I'm gonna restart, but eventually. So instead, I went back and played Animal Crossing a bit for the first time in 2 months to calm down. But I also, I bought another game today called Metopia. And my party consists of me, a thief, my sister Mary, who is the chef, Cam, who is, warrior, and my Little from my sorority, who is our mage. So that's been fun. It's kind of like Tomodachi Life. A little bit like Tomodachi Life in the fact that you don't really... There's more gameplay, I think, than Tomodachi Life.
Yeah.
But...
Whatever it is, it's more
fun.
gameplay, but less character interaction.
Yeah, a bit less. It's fun.
I've also heard that the most of, like, once you get to a certain point in the game, like, the character interaction drops off a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've been playing. I've been playing Burriti, my virtual plant thing, still. Also, all 6 of those, Thomas the Tank Engine apps, which are not very fun. None of them are very fun, but then again, I am also 22 and not the bait audience for these games.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't tried Talk to Thomas yet, so we're gonna try that one. So I'm gonna do that right now. Speech recognition by Bing.
Whoa.
Let's see what happens. Thomas looks so upset. Oh, he looks less upset upon seeing my beautiful face. Hi, Thomas.
Hello, Anna.
He's just staring at me. He's staring at me with his soulless eyes. I'm terrified.
What are we gonna do today, Anna?
I'm so scared.
Are we gonna deliver some coal? Or maybe deal with those troublesome trucks?
Oh my god.
Thomas sounds mysteriously like Joe with a British accent.
It's reading me a story.
I feel like that's not far off from what I was doing.
Yeah, it's not.
I feel like I was really close for someone who's not
You were.
British or a train.
Oh dear, it's so bright out. This can't be our bedtime.
This can't be our bedtime. I feel like I did a better Thomas voice than these guys did.
Look around. It's
Oh my gosh, this is terrible.
I think I was better. I think I'm the
I
better
didn't even get
Thomas.
to talk to Thomas.
But which one's the real Thomas? Alright, that's enough.
bust my buffers.
You can do whatever you want with your buffers on your own time. Let's end the podcast.
Sorry. Joe, what have you been playing?
I played Pokemon Showdown mostly because that's all I have time for these days. After between that and editing Diana's Earthbound playthrough, she beat all the moles today. She's like 15 minutes behind Paul, I think now, which is commendable considering Paul cuts out all of his battles.
Yeah.
And anytime he goes to the hospital. So it's actually pretty good. Unless she forgot to do something important. Because she was at one point like 45 minutes behind Paul. And then all of a sudden, like, I was just sort of watching both. And then they started entering the mole dungeon at like the same time. I was like, when did she gain like half an hour? So she might have either Paul wasted a lot of time on something he didn't need to do, or Diana forgot to do something important. And I don't know enough about Earthbound to know what the case actually is. So I guess we'll see. But I've been playing Pokemon Showdown. I've been messing around with weather teams. Like, I tried to do one team that used every single weather condition. Because all the Pokemon have abilities now. There are a bunch of abilities for each weather condition where it's like you send the Pokemon out and it makes that weather condition happen. So I have Pelipper, Mega Charizard Y, Tyranitar, and Alola Ninetales. And so I can do rain, sun, sandstorm, and hail all at the same time. And then I have Raikou with Weather Ball, which I can put a Normium Z on, and it basically gives me a Z mood of whatever type of weather it is, because it still works on Weather Ball, but it still changes the type of the move. So that's cool. I forget what the last one is. It's something weather themed, I think. I think it's actually just Landorus T, because that's just useful. And then right now I've been mostly playing with a Hail Sandstorm team, and that synergy sort of works well because it's always like doing chip damage. Jeddy, have you had a chance to play the advanced Pokemon games yet? Now that you've been moving to the Game Boy Advance?
Other than Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, no.
No?
Nope. Man, what if I find a Game Boy Advance at a yard sale?
That'd be fun.
Yeah, then you could... you should keep an eye out for those Pocket Mans, Jeddy. You know?
Yeah. Pocket Monsters, Monster in My Pocket, whatever that is.
Yeah, because you haven't even played any games with abilities. I think that was the main thing that Gen 3 added, was every Pokemon getting one or two special abilities.
I mean, the original Pokemon had, Strength, Cut, Surf.
That's not what the special abilities are, Jeddy.
Let me have this, Joe.
Jeddy is not what I'm talking about. I mean, stuff like Swift Swim, where your speed is doubled in rain, or Shedinja's wonderful ability where it can't take damage from any move that isn't a super effective attack. But it only has 1 health. So you're missing out on all cool Pokemon designs like that, Jeddy.
I guess I'll just have to find a Game Boy Advance at a yard sale.
Or just the game.
Yeah, that's right. I can play Game Boy Advance games and things, because that's why.
That's the whole reason. That's how you have been. That was my whole point.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think it's about time for us to say thank you for listening to the GameCola podcast. If you liked what you heard, be sure to check us out on our actual internet website, GameCola.net. Video games.
Video games.
We have social medias. It's Facebook, Twitter, GameCola.
Mm-hmm. You can ask us questions on there, and Anna will probably answer you, I guess. Or we'll answer them on the podcast if we think they're good enough. You can also check us out on YouTube and watch the playthroughs that are going on that we mentioned earlier. Valhalla and Earthbound, as well as podcasts go up there. From time to time, we have a bunch of different video series that you can check out. Just go to GCDotNet, the letter G, the letter C, the word dot, and the word net. And we already talked about social media. You can check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/GameCola for live streams. If you follow us there, you'll be notified. Yes, we will live stream. Jeddy's been working on his show, right, Jeddy?
I have been putting a lot of effort into trying to stream the Game Boy Color screen, not an emulator, but actually physically seeing the screen. I have been putting more time than I really should into this.
Well, hopefully it'll pay off. We'll see. But yeah, so follow us on Twitch if you want to look out for that and get notified when we go live there. If you like the podcast, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes too, so we can be teleported directly into your mobular device. And if you like us a lot, you could rate us highly on iTunes. Give us go 5 stars and a comment. We haven't had one of those. We haven't had a comment in a while. Yeah. That'd be cool. Now if you don't like us,
We're not
iTunes
there.
is currently defunct. Bad news for you. You actually can't listen to
Sorry,
any
guys.
podcasts ever, and has nothing to do with the fact that you have terrible taste. Well, here's the thing: no one who's actually dislikes the podcast is going to listen this far,
True.
so we can make fun of them.
They're not here for Tom. If they're not here for Thomas the Tank Engine, I don't know.
So yeah, you can message us questions to read on the podcast on Facebook or Twitter, or you can email us at podcast@GameCola.net, and we can read them off and have conversations about them, and hopefully they'll be funny, and that's how the podcast works.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight, and have a good time of day wherever it is that you are, wherever you are listening to this, and we hope to see you next month. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey everybody, this is Joseph Martin, your podcast commander in post, coming in first of all to give you the Jeopardy Game Boy music that we didn't deliver on in the podcast proper, but also to let you know that we tried something a little different with the way we recorded and edited this podcast together. So I just want to let you know in case you notice anything sounding better or maybe sounding a little different than you're used to. The idea here is that I should have gotten rid of a lot of background noise and chips and chirps of people hitting stuff around. But also, because of the new setup, I probably didn't get rid of as much of the dead air as I usually do. So we'll sort of see. It's a work in progress, but I just want to let you know if things sound a lot different than they have before. That's probably that, and there's going to be a little bit of kinks and clanks as I sort of get this new system worked out. So thanks again for listening. Hope to see you next month, and have a good day.